Welcome back to Meets Wisdom, where we transform ancient wisdom into modern power. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of reverse psychology, a subtle art that the Stoics mastered long before psychology existed as a formal discipline. The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable. These words from Seneca remind us that our mental approach determines our reality. And that's exactly what we're exploring today. How to master your mind and influence others through reverse psychology, all while staying true to Stoic principles. Before we begin this journey of mental mastery, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Your support helps us continue bringing these transformative lessons to more people just like you. Now let's discover how to win the mind game with these 7 powerful strategies. Strategy 1. The paradox of desire. Cut to visual of someone chasing something that keeps moving away. Have you ever noticed how the things we chase most desperately seem to slip through our fingers? This is what I call the paradox of desire, and it's our first reverse psychology strategy. The Roman Stoic Epictetus taught us, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This wisdom forms the foundation of our first strategy. When we desperately pursue something, whether it's a person's approval, a promotion, or even happiness itself, we often push it further away. Our desperation creates pressure that repels rather than attracts. Instead, try this. Cultivate genuine detachment. When you truly accept that you might not get what you want, you create space for it to come to you. This isn't about pretending not to care. It's about truly accepting whatever outcome may come. Next time you find yourself desperately wanting something, pause and ask yourself, can I be content without this? When you can honestly answer yes, you've mastered the paradox of desire. What things are you chasing that might benefit from this approach? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Strategy 2. The reluctant expert. Visual of someone being pulled into giving advice rather than pushing it. We've all experienced that frustrating moment when our well-intentioned advice is ignored, yet that same person might turn to someone else for the exact same guidance. Why? Because humans naturally resist being told what to do. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This points to our second strategy, the reluctant expert. Instead of eagerly offering your wisdom, position yourself as reluctant to give advice. When you appear hesitant to share your opinion, people become more curious about what you have to say. Try phrases like, "I'm not sure I should tell you this, but this worked for me, though it might not be right for everyone. I hesitate to suggest this, but you might consider." By framing your advice as something rare or even slightly forbidden, you transform it into something valuable that others actively seek rather than resist. Remember, though, this isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding human psychology to help others be more receptive to beneficial guidance. Strategy 3. The freedom principle. Visual of open door versus closed door, person drawn to the closed one. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. These words from Epictetus highlight a fascinating truth about human nature. We value what we work for and resist what's forced upon us. The freedom principle is simple yet profound. People fight for their autonomy. When you try to control others, you'll meet resistance. But when you emphasize their freedom to choose, you'll find cooperation. Instead of saying, "You need to do this," try, "This is completely your choice." When you genuinely give people the freedom to decide, they often make the choice you hope for. But now it's their decision, not your demand. This works especially well with children and in relationships. Rather than creating power struggles, present options and respect autonomy. The paradox is that by surrendering control, you often gain influence. A practical example, instead of telling someone, "You should really exercise more," try, "I've found exercise helpful, but obviously it's entirely up to you if that's something you want to explore." Have you experienced the freedom principle in action? How did it change the outcome? Let me know in the comments. Strategy 4. The forbidden fruit visual of apple with do not eat sign, looking very tempting. The obstacle is the way. This wisdom from Marcus Aurelius points directly to our fourth strategy, the forbidden fruit. Since ancient times, humans have been drawn to what is forbidden. We see this in the Garden of Eden story, in Romeo and Juliet, and in our everyday lives. When something is restricted or limited, our desire for it intensifies. You can ethically apply this principle by creating scarcity. I only share this advice with a few people. Establishing exclusivity. This technique isn't for everyone. Setting boundaries. I'm not sure you're ready for this information yet, but remember the Stoic emphasis on virtue. Never use this strategy to manipulate others for selfish gain. Instead, use it to help people overcome resistance to positive changes they want to make. For example, if someone is reluctant to try meditation, you might say, actually, this advanced meditation technique requires significant discipline. You might want to start with something simpler. Watch how their interest suddenly grows. The key is understanding that resistance often indicates importance. When we feel resistance towards something beneficial, it's often because it matters deeply. Strategy 5. The strategic retreat visual of chess pieces, showing a retreat that later becomes an advantage. Seneca taught us that sometimes even to live is an act of courage. This profound insight connects to our fifth strategy, the strategic retreat. The strategic retreat is about knowing when to temporarily step back in order to ultimately move forward. In arguments or negotiations, pushing harder often creates more resistance. Instead, try conceding small points or even temporarily withdrawing. When you ease pressure, you allow the other person's space to lower their defenses. This creates opening for real communication and influence. For example, in a disagreement, try saying, "You know what? You might be right about that. I need to think more about this." This unexpected response disrupts the pattern of conflict and creates space for resolution. The Stoics understood that true strength isn't about dominating others, but mastering ourselves. The strategic retreat requires the wisdom to know when pressing forward creates unnecessary resistance. Have you ever found that backing down from an argument actually helped you win it in the end? Share your experience below. Strategy 6. The reverse challenge. Visual of someone looking determined after being told they probably can't do something. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This guidance from Epictetus embodies our sixth strategy, the reverse challenge. The reverse challenge leverages our natural tendency to rise when someone suggests we might fall. When you want to motivate someone, sometimes suggesting they might not be capable of something is more effective than encouraging them directly. This doesn't mean being negative or undermining confidence. Rather, it means framing challenges in ways that activate determination. For example, this goal might be too ambitious for right now. This approach works for some people, though it requires exceptional discipline. I'm not sure if this solution would work in your specific situation. When used ethically and with the right person, these statements can ignite a powerful, "I'll show you" response that pushes people past their perceived limitations. The key is knowing your audience. Use this only with those who respond well to challenges and always with their best interest at heart. Remember the Stoic virtue of justice? Our goal isn't to manipulate, but to help others realize their potential by understanding how motivation works. Strategy 7. The Paradoxical Intention. Visual of someone trying hard to fall asleep but staying awake, then relaxing and falling asleep. Our final strategy comes from a technique later developed in modern psychology, but deeply aligned with Stoic principles. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The paradoxical intention strategy tackles problems that worsen when we focus on them. Performance anxiety, insomnia, and overthinking are perfect examples. The harder we try, the worse these problems become. The solution? Try to fail. When you deliberately attempt to experience the very thing you're afraid of, you break its power over you. For example, if you can't sleep, try to stay awake instead. If you're nervous about public speaking, try to show your nervousness. If you overthink, set aside time to deliberately overthink as much as possible. By embracing rather than fighting these experiences, you remove the fear and resistance that feed them. This is truly the ultimate reverse psychology, turned on yourself. This approach embodies the Stoic practice of premeditation of evils. facing what you fear most to discover it has less power than you imagine. Conclusion: we suffer more in imagination than in reality. These final words from Seneca remind us that our minds create much of our suffering, but they can also create our freedom. These 7 reverse psychology strategies aren't about manipulating others. They're about understanding human nature so deeply that we can work with it rather than against it, both in ourselves and in our interactions. The Stoics understood that true power comes not from controlling others, but from mastering our own perceptions and responses. These strategies help us do exactly that. If you found value in these ancient yet modern techniques, please support Meets Wisdom by hitting that like button, subscribing, and sharing this video with someone who might benefit. In the comments, I'd love to know, which of these 7 strategies resonated most with you? And how do you plan to apply it in your life?